Hi, this is Diane again. I just wanted to share another dream I had. I had it back in February, maybe mid-February 2018, and I didn't write it down because it took me a while to really think about it. First of all, in the dream, I'm riding around in a white car with somebody named John. I'm riding shotgun for him, and I don't know John in real life, but in my dream he was a young man. I was young. He had shoulder-length hair, and it was sandy colored hair. Very pleasant man, and we were enjoying our ride around town, just riding in the car. Now, we pulled up to this church, and I perceive it to be a Methodist church. And in order to get to the church, you had to cross over this bridge. Now, I drew a picture of it, and I'll show it to you. It's not very good, of course, but it pretty much depicts what I saw. So here's the picture. Now, this is John in the white car parked on the bridge. That's what he did. He got out of the car and stood on his side, and he was looking at me. Now, I am in this ditch or a gully. There's no water in it, but this just shows that it's a ditch that water would come through underneath this bridge. Now, this bridge is all dirt covered, so it's dirt. It's not like a wooden bridge or anything. So here's me in this ditch, and I'm pointing a gun at this Methodist church. You can see that there were people in the church and trees all around, but the only entrance to this church is through this bridge and parking area here. Now, when I woke up from the dream, I thought, now why would I be pointing a gun at a church? So I thought about it, and I actually looked up what it meant to be pointing a gun at something that wasn't loaded. To me, it wasn't loaded. John and I were not angry. We were, as a matter of fact, just having a wonderful day, and this is where we ended up. And he was not unhappy, not mad. He was very pleasant. I was very pleasant. So for me to be pointing a gun at a church kind of didn't make any sense to me until I looked it up. To point a gun at something means you're pointing a finger, pointing blame. John. Now, to me, I don't know a John, but in my dream, he represented to me John the Baptist, who was a forerunner of Jesus Christ. So I looked up some verses, and I'll just read them to you. Everybody knows that John was the forerunner of Jesus anyway. So before I read them, just want to say that to me now, the dream means, because John's in it, it's a warning. It's a warning to the church that Jesus is coming. You better start preaching the truth. Pointing the blame at a church is like, well, everybody knows that the churches don't preach the truth anymore. They don't preach the gospel. That's why nobody goes to church anymore. It's kind of sad, but John is preparing the way for Jesus, the return of the Messiah, for the Messiah to come. So Matthew 3, 1 through 3. In those days, John the Baptist came preaching in the wilderness of Judea and saying, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. For this is he who was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, For the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight." Then Isaiah 40, 3. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, John, Prepare the way of the Lord, making straight in the desert a highway for our God. Then, of course, there's Mark 1 through 3. And so many other verses showing John as the forerunner for Jesus. I don't have dreams often, but when I do, I have to take note of them because I remembered them. And I always ask God to let me remember any dreams that are just from Him. I believe it is a warning to the church, to all churches, not just Methodist. And I don't know why Methodist came to my mind, but it did. I don't go to church myself. I haven't in years. And that's a whole other story. I hope that this dream shows people how important it is to recognize that the churches are in trouble. People in the churches are in trouble. And I think that God does blame the church, because it looks to me like John was there, encouraging me, not discouraging, just watching. Maybe it's just me who's supposed to point the way that this warning needs to be heeded. I don't know. But it was unnerving, and it took me a while to realize exactly what it meant. Lots of prayer was involved in this one. I don't know, him being on the bridge with his white car. And by the way, white car means ministry. So I guess we were riding around town ministering. I don't know. But it was a pleasant day. We ended up at the church, pointing blame for a lot of the bad things happening in this world. Nobody can come together. Mass confusion. Pre-trib rapture, mid-trib rapture, post-trib rapture. Nobody can come together on this. Big debate. Anyway, I hope that this dream helps in some way. I feel very compelled to share it. Please pray on it. Thank you for listening.